I couldn't have read that. You could have played with face-up cards and I still wouldn't have known what you had, man. Holy hell, you disguised that well. Oh, hello. Wow, hello. Sorry, are you known around here? You wanted to learn. You wanted to learn. This is a hell of a poker table you sat down at to learn. I tell you what though, you're lucky that... Well, I think we're wrapping up here. That was pretty much the last hand, so... No, don't be disappointed. Look, if I point you around this table, I mean, that's Phil Ivey. To start with. Who is Phil Ivey? Well, if you played a game of poker against Phil, you can invite every family member you have. You could all play at the same table with one Phil and all of you. And I would put a hell of a lot of money in Phil walking away with every single chip on the table. He's probably the greatest ever. Then that's Dean Eggs, Daniel Negreanu, who's also another all-time great. Hey, if you want to learn more about poker, you can buy his masterclass. Who am I? Oh, just a Johnny-come-lately that a few of these guys are kind enough to think has a little bit of a chance of being rather good at this. I am trying to stay humble about it though, because, well, between me and you, these guys are light years ahead of, well, me, for a start. I kind of get away with a lot of stuff with good instincts. These guys are playing on a different level. Fine enough, playing more with these guys has made me more and more convinced that maybe this isn't for me, but we'll see. In any case, I've won a couple of big hands, been on TV a little bit, a couple people know my name. More, you know, die-hard poker people, I guess, but a few people. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe this is the career for me, maybe it's not. But if you want to learn a couple of things, I can show you. Especially if you keep smiling at me like that. I do like your smile. To be perfectly frank with you, while I'm a wonderful bluffer at a poker table, in love, not so much. And with you, there's not a lot of time I'm going to be able to bluff the idea that I'm not very attracted to you, and that I'd very much like to take you on a date sometime. And so me showing you how the basics of poker, specifically Texas Hold'em, works, we can say something of a unusual first date. So let's do this. Quick crash course, okay? There are various strengths of hand. The best one possible is Broadway, aka this is like a hand that only ever happens in screenplays and movies, is the Royal Flush, Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10 of all of the same suit. In fact, let's just do this, seeing as I want to show off for you. Okay, see all these shuffles I'm doing? Right, look honest, let's just finish it off with a couple of cuts. And we can deal, there's a 10, there's a Jack, there's a Queen, there's a King, and there's an Ace, all of the same suit. I did a little bit of card magic for fun, and what's fun about it is that, of course, I would never deal like this at a table because I'm not going to risk my reputation getting caught on my decent but not amazing card handling skills, especially since you're dealing with people who will absolutely burn your hands. By which I mean, they'll be watching very closely what you do. If you slip up once if you're trying to cheat, ooh. Well, there's very special fates for people who get caught cheating at cards, and not ones I would like to find out more about. So, Royal Flush, best possible hand. Straight Flush is, say, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, all of the same suit. So it is the cards going all in order, all of the same suit. Next, 4 of a kind, so we see that's an ace, that's an ace, that's an ace, and that's an ace. And we just put a random card in the end here. There's 2 clubs. So 4 of a kind is the third best hand. Then you have full house. So let's see, that's an ace, that's an ace, that's a king, that's a king, and that's a king. And so that's when you have a pair and a 3 of a kind. And then you have a flush, which is say a spade, a spade, a spade, a spade, and a spade. 5 of the same suit, but they're not all going, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. Straight is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The cards all going in one order, but not all of the same suits. 3 of a kind, very simple. That's an ace, that's an ace, that's an ace, and then here's a king and a queen for fun. And then we're going to do 2 pair, which is having 2 pairs of the suits. So you say that's an ace, that's an ace, that's a king, that's a king. And there's a queen for fun again. Isn't it funny how I keep shuffling these cards and they all seem to end up at the top? Or maybe they're not at the top, maybe they're at the bottom and I'm just doing this for fun. Again, I'm just showing off here. The next is a pair, so there's an ace, and there's 3 random bum cards. And then the last possible hand, if you don't have any pairs, if you don't have any straight, no flush, no nothing, is a high card hand, which does win sometimes. At the end of the day, sometimes everyone misses everything, and therefore, say having a king and a bunch of random crap, well, your opponent could have a bunch of random crap and a jack or a queen as their best card, or something else. So, you know, it's always worth keeping in mind that even a completely busted hand, a completely missed hand, can actually just be the best hand at the table. So, those are the kind of hands. Very quickly how the game works. So we'll just deal you a hand. So you get 2 cards, I get 2 cards. With these 2 cards, there will also be 5 cards dealt into the middle. Those are the community cards. Everyone has access to them in order to try and make the best hand. So, you would have rounds of betting, which I'll explain at a later date, because betting can get quite complicated, because it's hard to talk about just a little and not a lot, because there's so many details that I'll want to say as soon as I think of them. But basically the way the hand works, so we'll ignore the betting for now. Let's say we match each other's bets all the way down, we get all the way to the showdown, which is after all the 5 cards are out, and we end up having to reveal who's actually got the better hand. So you'd have betting before the flop when you've just seen your hands, and then we have the flop. So there go 3 cards. Then you'd have more betting. Then once the betting's finished in that round, you have the turn, the 4th card, more betting, and finally the river, last card. And then if you end up in a situation where people call, so people match each other's bets essentially, then you flip over and you show the hands. And funnily enough, already I want to talk about things, because already there's a quirk that so the person who's going first, and that's dictated by the order they're sitting around the table, the person who's going first shows you a hand that beats yours. You don't actually have to show your hand, which is neat, because then you can essentially deny information, right? Which is nice. Because obviously people don't know exactly what hand you had. It's harder for them to judge, exactly what you were doing, da 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 da. So, yeah, basically, sorry, I really can't stop looking at your eyes. I know I'm so unsubtle at the whole love thing, but whatever. Oh, notice how I called it love already. Isn't that very presumptuous of me? What I mean to say is lifelong partnership. Anyway, so one thing you might notice is that while in Hollywood, probably a lot of the time people are going to be, going to showdown every single hand. Really, a lot of hands never get that far, and so it doesn't matter what card you actually had. If you had 2 great cards, wonderful. Actually, not wonderful, because if you have great cards, you kind of want the hand to go as far as possible to make the most money possible when you do have good cards. You want to get paid off, as people refer to it as. But if you have, say, I have here, random cards almost, and I've completely missed everything, and you've actually got a better hand than me. Well, if I put down the correct bet sizings at the correct times, I can convince you that I have better cards than you and make you fold. And usually the problem new players have is either massive over or under aggression. So either they almost never play, and then when they play it's very obvious they have a really strong hand, or they always play and they have no idea really like what they're doing and what their opponents could have, so they're overly aggressive. But yeah, all this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously as a beginner you want to stick to pretty much playing premium hands. What I mean by that is things, you know, aces, kings, ace kings, especially ace kings suited. So suited hands are better than non-suited hands because you have a better chance of getting a flush, basically. So, man, am I really going to start nerding out about solvers? Basically, there are all sorts of programs and stuff you can use to help you figure out, you know, in various spots, what is theoretically optimal. So there's a thing called Game Theory Optimal, which is not only a poker thing, it's just generally a strategy game thing. Of like, this is, in theory, how often you should make move A and how often you should make move B according to statistics and da da da. And there's a lot of it's to do with machine learning, a lot of it's to do with... It's not necessarily machine learning always, but it's very much... If you can't tell, I'm now rambling nervously because I keep telling you how attractive you are. It's not really machine learning so much as it is theory, and then the machine's kind of helping do the legwork of a lot of the theory, I guess, to try and prove certain things. But the funny part is that Game Theory Optimal is Game Theory Optimal if you play the same hand 10,000 times. But you can trick Game Theory Optimal, right? And that's where the human element comes in. Or Game Theory Optimal can play correctly, quote unquote, and be lucked, or be bluffed, or whatever, right? And so this is the whole point about meta or optimal. That in theory the optimal strategy is the one that beats the optimal strategy, right? Or put it a different way, the meta should be whatever beats the meta. So if everyone's playing Game Theory Optimal, in theory your best course of action is to try and do things that abuse Game Theory Optimal. But it's not that easy to abuse Game Theory Optimal. So, in summary, it's complicated. The good news is, you don't have to learn it all tonight. And what you could instead learn tonight is, you know, some of my favourite things. Where I like to go to dinner. What, if anything, I would consider a romantic evening. You know, things like that. And instead of, I mean, the fact that you walked up to a table, unbeknownst to you apparently, having, you know, 2 Hall of Fame great poker players and some other pretty good players, and you wanted to learn. I advise you to almost never sit down at a table like this one, because unless you're playing with someone else's money in there, in that case, go ahead. But if you're playing with your own money, oh, and there's a good point, the single most important rule of poker. If I can teach you one thing that you take away, this is the most important thing. Never, ever, ever bet money you can't afford to lose. If you're playing a local game and it's a $100 buy-in, you had better be able to lose that $100 and sleep comfortably and never worry about it, never be pissed off about it. As soon as the money starts becoming dodgy to lose, as soon as it starts being, well, maybe I can't buy the food I want, maybe I can't buy presents for my family, whatever it is, you don't play. I don't care how unlucky you feel like you were, I don't care like how much you feel that you can beat the people at this table. I don't care about any of that. If you have any idea that the money is important to you, that you need it, you don't play. At least not for money. You can also play casually with friends whenever the hell you want. But anyway, I feel it is the public service thing. This is the #1 thing you can tell a new player. Bankroll management. Do not play with money you don't have, because you will go bust and it will suck. Anyway. So. Do you want to play a dummy hand or something? Or do you want to... I'm suddenly nervous because my easy ways to talk about poker have run out, and I could talk far more nerdily about poker and about position and all this kind of stuff, and you know, implied odds, ranges, and but at the end of the day, hell, if you do end up dating me long term, you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask about that kind of stuff. So I feel like I should probably instead ask more about, you know, you and how you even ended up here. I mean, this is a rather contrived circumstance, some would say, to meet a poker player. It's almost like weak story writing, you know? Like, oh, you just walked up to a poker table and wanted to learn poker while people were playing poker. That's a likely story. Just say you met on Tinder, oh my god. But, no. Anyway. Seriously, I feel like I've just been talking at you and declaring my interest. But really I want to know about you, so... The table is yours. I shall shut up for a little while and just listen. You like me talking passionately? Well, that's very kind of you, but... Well, answer me in turn then. Talk about something you're passionate about. I'm really interested. Tell me all about yourself. Seriously. I really do want to know.